Hey, you guys. Say hi when you jump on so I know that you're here. We are going to do our first day of sourdough starter. I'm super excited to get this going again. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Just wait for a few people to jump in really quick before we start. You guys, is it cold where you are? I start my live and of course we get somebody at the door. Open the door. You gotta unlock it. Okay, let me put these back. There we go. Let's see. Can somebody comment so I can see if I can see comments all right? Can't see comments, I don't think. There's some people jumping in. Hey, Shirley. Hey, Amber. Perfect. Okay, we have comments. Woo! It's like, oh no, not again. Not again. Okay, you guys, we're going to do sourdough starter. So this is our first day, which I'm super excited about. And we are basically going to come on at 7 p.m. for the next 9 days. So we'll be here every night at 7 p.m. It will be a short live, but we'll just kind of do our starter together every single night. I also will be posting a course that goes with this that you guys can follow along if you need to reference anything, but you can always put in the comments if you have a question. Hey, Karen, thank you for the stars. That's amazing. Hold on. I gotta get my bubbles. We're gonna make bubbles, though. We're gonna make bubbles. I am feeling a little better. You guys, I'm still really fatigued. I'm still really tired. I just want to sleep, to be quite honest. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm really tired all the time still. But what are you gonna do? I'm feeling better, just fatigued. I don't know. Weird. Super weird. Thank you so much, Karen, for the stars. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so whenever I get stars, I am going to blow bubbles because, you know, share the bubbles. So we are going to blow bubbles every time. And if you guys missed it, we had a thrift store run and I ended up getting a bunch of bubble ones. So I am stocked up on the bubbles. So a little bit about what's going on this time is a little bit different than the first round. If you did the starter with me the first round, we really kept it basic. But in the long run, where there's humidity and we're all in different elevations and it affects your starter in different ways. So this round, I'm going to be super precise in our measurements. So the people that are in high humidity or have issues will not have as many issues, hopefully, this round, if we're doing it more precise. So, oh, thank you for this. Who sent those? Oh, thank you, Sarah. You guys, I'm going to run out of breath. Thanks for the star, Sarah. It's a nice touch. It's a fun one, except I am going to have to figure out, like, blowing bubbles, like, over my craft projects might be a little hard. But anyways, back to starter. We are going to, you just need if you have one, if you do not have one, please get one. It is a digital scale. I have the basic Amazon one. It was like $8.99. You guys, if you're going to do sourdough, have a scale, because when we get to the bread making part, you're going to need to weigh, and it's super important to have a scale for sourdough. Sourdough's a bougie bread. It likes things a certain way. So if you want to make good sourdough, you really need to have a kitchen digital scale. So that's kind of where we are for preciseness. You need a jar. I recommend using a mason jar. You just want to make sure that whatever jar you use, it is glass. You want a glass jar. For one, there's a couple reasons why. But it's super easy to see. And the cool thing with this one, it actually has measurements on it, which is kind of cool, to kind of help you see where your growth was, where you kind of were last at, but you can always mark your jar as well. Another cool thing with a mason jar is you can put the lid on. And with sourdough starter, you do not want a tight lid on your starter. You want to be able to breathe. So these jars with the lids and just putting it on keeps the bugs out, keeps all the gross out, still lets it breathe. So mason jar is the way to go if you have one. And then I like to use unbleached bread flour. You can use any kind of flour that you want. Just make sure that it's unbleached flour. You do not want to use bleached flour. And then water. I'm just using a purified water from Kirkland, which is Costco. You just want to make sure that your filtered water is not reverse osmosis, and it will say here, like in the fine writing. And you want to make sure it's not distilled water, because we need the minerals in there in order to get your sourdough started. And the last round that we did sourdough starter, some people used Walmart brand, like Great Value water, and their starters never rose. And I think they add something to their Walmart water. We couldn't figure out what it was. So please do not use Walmart water. I have nothing against Walmart, but there is something about their water that is a no-go. So there's something about it. Now, if you don't have a scale today, you can use a measuring cup, and you're going to need a 3/4 cup measuring cup and a 1/2 measuring cup. So I'll let you guys gather your, and a spatula to stir. So gather your stuff really quick, and then we'll get this started. Oh no, bougie, you want me to do funky bubbles and bougie? Yes, Sarah, you have to do funky bubbles and bougie. It's a bougie bread. It's a fancy bread. Oh, thanks again for the stars, Sarah. You're gonna make me out of breath, you guys. Yes, it's a bougie bread. It is. But you guys, it's good for your gut health. Another thing that's really cool that we've learned is my son's a type 1 diabetic. And if you give him regular bread, he'll have a glucose spike. But if you give him sourdough bread, he does not have a glucose spike. So we've actually been able to watch it live on a Dexcom of what certain foods do. And it's really good for your gut health. So sourdough has so many benefits. It's totally worth making the bougie bread, for sure. For sure. Okay, so let's get started. So you guys, this is really simple. We're going to come on 7 p.m. every single night until we have our starter going. There's new steps each day that we're going to do. For the most part, for the first few days, it's the same steps. But you're going to take your scale. If you're using a measuring cup, that's fine too. Try to get a scale though, so you can be more precise, so you don't have any issues with your starter. Now, when you put your jar on the scale, you just want to make sure that you actually clear it out to 0 again, so it doesn't count the weight of the jar. Doesn't count the weight of the jar. And first off, we're going to put 100 grams of flour. And if you're using a measuring cup, that's 3/4 cup of flour into your jar. So, just gonna put this in here. like, how close am I? How close am I? Because that's a long, this is a big jar. I don't have to try to dig out flour. So 100 grams or 3/4 cup, 91, 93, 95. Okay, so there's 100 grams of flour, so around 3/4 cups of flour. And then we're gonna zero out our scale again to 0, and we're gonna add 100 grams of water. Now, 100 grams of flour versus 100 grams of water is different. So that equals 100 grams of water is about a half cup of water that you're gonna put in. So we're gonna do 100 grams of water. I feel like a scientist this weekend between the heart crystals and doing our sourdough. And there's 100 grams of water, so a half cup of water. So you're gonna put it in your jar. And hey, Linda. Okay, and then we're just going to mix it up. Get it, you wanna mix it up really good. Now, I did change the totals in this one. Last time we did a half cup and a half cup. But people were having issues with humidity. So I had played around with some totals and starter, and this one seemed to be the best one that I found. So we are gonna do this one this time. Hey, Patty. So you wanna get all the flour chunks out of it. You're gonna make almost like a paste. You're doing this just for Mama. She's excited. I'm excited for her. And make sure you scrape down the sides of your jar too, you guys. And then just kind of mix it together. Now, some of you guys that did starter with me before are going to be like, Shay, this is like so thick. It's like dough. That is okay. Trust me. This is going to help with you guys that are super humid, elevation. And as it feeds itself, it's going to get thinner. Hey, Kim. All right. So we got this nice and stirred. And as you can see, it's really thick. It's a lot thicker than our last time that we did it. But that's okay. It will feed itself and it will thin out a little bit. Now all you're gonna do for today is leave it like this. Did I get all the flour? Just make sure your flour chunks are nicely blended in there. You're almost making like a dough. And then you're gonna put your lid on. Not gonna tighten it, you're just gonna set your lid on. So, sourdough starter likes to be warm. So, it likes to be 70-ish, not below 65. So if your house is on the cooler side, or if it's cold where you are, since we're doing this in the winter, you're gonna want just like a kitchen towel or a bath towel, whatever you want to do. And I just wrap around like this, and I put it in my cabinet. And this keeps it warmer. Especially since we're doing starter during the winter time. It's negative 25 wind chill right now here. So my house is at 70. So I could just leave it out, but I'm going to give it a little extra warmth by just putting a kitchen towel wrapped around it. But this is definitely a must if your house is on the cooler side. I would definitely wrap it in a towel and put it in a cabinet. And make sure your cabinet isn't like on a wall that's towards the outside where it's a little colder. Pick an inner wall cabinet. Or you can leave it out on your counter with a towel. I put mine in the closet because it tends to be warmer in there. And I just put it like this. And you're going to leave it for 24 hours. And then we'll meet back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And we're going to feed it again. And we're going to discard a little bit. And we're just going to build up this starter. It's usually 7 to 9 days. And we'll be baking bread together. But during the process, we are going to make our starter. And then I'm also going to do discard recipes with you guys. So yes, we're trying to make our sourdough starter so we can make bread. But there's so much more you can do with sourdough, with the starter and the discard that you get from it. We make cinnamon rolls. Like, there's just so many things we can do with it. So we're going to go right into the starter and the discard. Just flour and water, unbleached flour and filtered water, but not distilled, reverse osmosis, or Walmart. My list keeps getting longer. But I want you guys to be successful at getting your starter going. So if we measure, please get a kitchen scale. They're $8.99 on they're $8.99 on Amazon. Totally worth having. You're gonna need it when we bake bread. But if you don't and you want to start tonight, that's totally fine. It's around 3/4 cup of flour and a 1/2 cup of water mixed together. Wow, you thought there was some secret ingredient? There is no secret ingredient. It literally is water and flour, and it goes through a fermentation process, which then builds the yeast, which builds your sourdough starter. So it's kind of like a science project. We'll get there. It will start bubbling and doing all the things, and it's pretty kind of awesome what you can actually, once it comes alive, it literally comes alive, what you can do with sourdough starter. But yeah, it's literally just flour and water. But the way that you build it, there's a process. So we're going to be discarding a certain amount. We're going to be feeding it a certain amount, going through the days until we build it up. And everybody's starter is going to behave a little different, like I said, because you're in a different area, humidity, all those things play a factor. But the measurements that I have should work for everybody no matter what. We're doing this one a little thicker to make sure that everybody can have a successful sourdough starter. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. All right, you guys, make sure you keep it warm. Just stir it together. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And we will do our feed again and kind of go through the process. And you guys, if you guys have no distilled water. No distilled water. No, we can't use distilled water because it needs the minerals in order for it to ferment. So you need to use filtered water. No distilled water or reverse osmosis. You just want regular water, but like filtered water, regular filtered water. Like I use Kirkland purified water brand, works great. No distilled. No distilled. Oh, you guys are welcome. Hey, Brooke. You're welcome, Kim. I am doing good. I am doing good. I'm excited, you guys. We have a lot of people doing this with us this time. So, it will be fun. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. We do have a sourdough group as well. You can join. It's Midnight Sourdough. And we have people in there as well. But we're just going to start this together and kind of go through it. And I want you guys to take pictures as we start going to, and posting them on the post. That way we can kind of see what your starter's doing, if we need to adjust something for you. But this really should be good for everyone as we go. All right, you guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for day 2. Bye.